Hi, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all and be with you after a pretty tumultuous week. How many times have we said that this year and over the years? I want to share something that happened to me today and then have a few reflections I had about what happened, and then, as usual, open it up and to more group discussions or anything anyone else wants to add. Uh, my younger brother, I have two younger brothers, one of them had shipped me some uh, things that my mother he was going through. My mother died maybe 6 years ago, and he's still going through old boxes and things she had left. And he pulled together for both of us, the other brothers, things my mother had shared about, had saved for all of us since we were babies. So today, two big, boxes arrived filled with things, you know, my life right there, which was pretty amazing. And it had, I'll just say a few things, but, from when there were letters in there, you know, a day or two after I was born, a whole box of them congratulating about me, and photos of me little, and things I drew when I don't remember any of this. I was little, but it was adorable. When you have someone who can barely scribble, like they're there. I did that. And then as I got older and older, more and more things, and I've got report cards and poems I wrote. And actually, there's a couple of drawings I actually have a memory of doing. They were there. And some of them were just super cute, but it felt like, it was me, but it's like, it wasn't, it was someone else. I felt that I want to talk about that a little, because it's like, that was me, but I don't have a memory. I don't relate to that person. And then it went on up through, as I got older, there were less and less, but there was less and less, but there were notebooks of when I was, maybe in the third, fourth grade, and doing math and all this stuff. And I've got, even when I was older as a Boy Scout, I was an Eagle Scout, and I had, my merit badge sash and my Eagle medal, and my mother had an Eagle pin, and just brought, I hadn't thought about that, and just, I can't even remember, and it just brought it all back alive. All the memories of so many stages of my life brought it very back alive. So it was pretty interesting in that way. But what really struck me was that it was a combination of feelings. Some things I would bring, and also yearbooks from when I was in, I think, one junior high, when I was in high school, and there I was. And it even had, like, whatever, I was in my junior, senior in high school, and then it would have it like, your senior, it lists all the clubs you were in. Apparently, I was in a physics club for a couple of years. According to this, I was in a radio club. I was a ham radio operator, so there was some kind of radio club. I was in it for 2 years. Who knew? No memory of it at all. And there's pictures of me when I was running track and the cross country team and all of that. And actually, a little bit from when I was at college. I think for 1 year, the first college I went to for engineering school, I was at Georgia Tech for my first year, and there was a yearbook, and she had that too. So it brought back memories. I was actually in a fraternity for 1 year. Didn't last long, but there's my picture in the fraternity. And it brought back, actually, the thing about looking at the fraternity kind of triggered it off, because I saw myself there. It was right around that time that, I'm off in my freshman year and everything, and my life was about to blow apart. As I went off in a lot of crazy directions. I blame it all on all those damn hippies, because there I was in the middle of it. So, but what happened was, most of what came up for me was actually a lot of very challenging, difficult feelings of just so many regrets, and all the places of my old, I've talked about in this group some, psychological wounding and my self-esteem, the choices I would make if I could go back and do it over and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, I was just spent a lot of the day just in this swirl of feelings. And I had a lot of tears coming up. I went and talked to my wife and cried and, and all that. So it was just quite intense just getting all this stuff. And I wonder just a couple more things about it. I went to my son, who's 13, and he saw what was going on. I talked about it some with him, and and I said to him, I said, I hope uh, I hope you'll make choices as in your life. He's a great kid. He's doing fine. He doesn't really need me saying this, but I said, I hope you'll make choices so that someday when you're maybe my age and you'll look back with fondness, and it'll be more percentage of a smile on your face and less percentage of regret and wounded feelings and all of that kind of stuff. And he said to me, well, Dad, that's kind of interesting because I wouldn't think you'd have much of anything to regret in your life. He just knows me kind of this stage of my life. And really, when I think back, I wasn't a bad person, but it was mainly things about being held back, like I said, about self-esteem and things like that. So it was mainly, that's where my mind went to focus on one part of the whole. There was so much, but that's kind of what grabbed my attention, the more the places where there was some pain around it. And so as I was sitting in this swirl, this is the part I want to talk about now a little bit. What started to, as I hung out with these feelings and they're just coming up, what really struck me a lot was just how I had these feelings that were coming up, but it was actually they were my feelings that were happening now, but actually the person for whom I was having the memories and the feelings really just felt like it was someone else. And of course it was me at an earlier stage, but it really feels like, well, who was that person? You can kind of recognize that it's me, but I don't really. Sometimes I show my son a picture of me when I was young and he says, who's that? I don't look much the same. The way my mind, my body, my psychology on all levels is just not the same person, right? So there was a sort of a continuum, a continuity that made it to this point. But in so many ways, I feel like, well, that's not me. And that was, so everything shifted. I was more in that consciousness then. And it became more and more in my awareness, just the fact of, which we talk about in Dharma all the time, about life, our experience, all existence as being this flow, this changing process, right? It's always changing. And I've actually been reflecting on it a lot recently because every time I go to bed at night, for some reason, the last 2 weeks, it struck me like, here I am again. It was like a Groundhog's Day. If you ever saw the movie, it's just like, didn't I just do this? I'm back here again. I wake up in the morning, then there's mid-morning and afternoon. It keeps flowing and changing and you can't stop it. It's just this ongoing flow. And of course, so much of the teachings, the Buddhist teachings, are around impermanence, that things don't last. And then kind of a corollary to that, or another aspect of impermanence, the fact that things are always in a state of flux or change. And the whole idea is about non-clinging to things. And so all of these, all of this stuff was swirling in me. And just the awareness of this changing swirl or this changing flow of consciousness or of experience of our being was very alive in me. And as that happened, I began to let go more of the clinging or just the pain and all the feelings of my childhood, which is still be there, not pushing them away. I'm still kind of thinking about it and flipping through old journals or whatever my mother had saved. But it's more opening in my mind today. It just moved me through all these different phases, and I was more resting in just the mystery of it all. And that's an amazing place. And I'm sure some of you have had these experiences yourself, but it's very alive for me today. It's not always alive for me all the time, every day, but just feeling of resting in that mystery. And then one more piece added to that today, which is, of course, everything's that's been going on around what do you want to call it? The insurrection, the riot, the attempted coup last week, and all that. And just as I was watching some news today with the impeachment trial of Trump today, and then they would bring up some images of some of the rioters, or whatever word you want to use for them. I'm not. I can think of a lot of different adjectives to use, but the people who were storming the Capitol. And it struck me that in this, just it magnified the sense of just the mystery of this crazy, crazy existence in life, as you see all these people who are clearly deluded, no question about that, but in their mind, a whole different universe of what's good versus evil, and what's truth and what's right. And I'm not getting into the fact that a lot of their facts are just wrong, but just more experientially, that and then the whole world filled with so many ways of being that the human experience can manifest, I guess, is what was striking me more than the content. Believe me, I've spent a lot of time this last week and then over the last 4 or 5 years and everything, with plenty of opinions, and I've gotten a lot of Dharma talks out of the content. So I'm not diminishing any of that. I'm just saying, sharing the part that it sort of was magnifying more just the wonder of what is going on in this human life and in this world. And it's just, don't know. And somehow through all of that, finally this letting go happened, and this resting more in this place of presence opened. And then finally, the last piece in that, I find as the sense of just presence in the flow is happening, the change is happening, the mystery is happening, the don't know is happening, all of this. And it opened up into a place of feeling of love kind of came. And I want to say that you'll have to look, each of us to our own experience, but not everybody moves to an experience of love when they drop into a deep place of non-clinging and letting go or resting in presence. But some people do, and that tends to be what happens in my mind. It opens up into something that feels like it's very fundamental and profound, resting in when all of this drops away, and there's the real, it's what the kind of a Zen feeling to the phrase of the don't know mind. That's like a Zen mind, beginner's mind, Suzuki Roshi kind of thing, using language don't know mind. But that's what they're talking about. It doesn't mean we don't know anything. It doesn't mean that those people who were trying to foment a coup weren't problematic and horrible and terrible and all that. There's that level is there. We're not throwing that away, but there's just a whole nother level also. We can plug in on all these different levels and how we're relating to ourselves, relating to life. So I'm more on just the resting and the stepping back into the mystery of things. This is just what happened. Maybe if my brother hadn't shipped me the box, if they hadn't arrived today, I don't know what, but that's what kind of led me along this. So I wanted to just share that process with you of especially resting in presence and love. And then I'd like to just read something to you, and I might make a few remarks to something. I posted this on Facebook, so I don't know if any of you saw it, but there's a man named Ray Castellino who died just maybe a month ago, I think. And not long before he died, he wrote something. He had one of these, maybe on Caring Bridge or somewhere where people were tracking, and he was writing. And he knew he was terminally ill, had some kind of cancer. And he's known because he was a somatic psychotherapist, and he ran these birth trauma workshops that he called, and my wife and I did one with him. They call them womb surrounds. The idea is that you build this like super safe, it's like kind of like the womb, I guess is the idea, and create the feeling of that. And he would really, I don't know how he did it, but he brings you back into some very primal kind of experiences that really do go quite back to early in life, where didn't get your needs met, wounding happens, whatever, in a way to kind of go back there and release them and heal them. So we called them womb surrounds. And I really do consider that he was a master therapist and just an amazing guy. So I want to just read you it's very brief, something he wrote that I found quite inspiring. And it just came up in my mind to share this with you because of, as I said just a few moments ago, this idea of resting in, this is my own words, not Ray's, resting in presence, resting in the mystery, resting in harmony with the way things are. That'd be like the Tao, maybe like that. And how that connects us to some deep place of love. So I'll just share this with you. You can, you may or may not relate to it. You'll see for yourself. So this is from Ray. He says, "It's about time I gave you an update on the progression of this life. Day by day, there are new changes. Nothing is as it was the day before." Now, this is, he knows he's near to dying here. One lesson sure is that none of us can have any expectation of what our life is tomorrow. I can tell you, I actually love being on the edge. And the truth of it, when I close my eyes at night, I ask, when I close my eyes at night, I ask, is this the night? And smile and feel glad that it might be. That's pretty amazing. He goes on, this edge is so close to the other side that while you think it is death coming, it is actually life-giving. And I just want to read that again. You think it is death coming is actually life-giving, right? He's not separating out, life and death. It's just this one process. It's the place that we sit to quiet ourselves so that we can all know that all we can know is the presence. And it's in that presence that love is beyond anything we can ever guess or know or anticipate. And we all think we know something about it. And yet every moment there is more and more, and it shows itself to us. So here I am in this process where everything I do that has the potential to sustain life requires that I commit myself to life. Yet again, and the truth of it and the heart of it, I just want to go. There's no giving up or no loss. It is just the way things are. In my heart of hearts, my wish is to live in the will. He uses the word will with a capital W, the will. You could translate it to God's will or to Dharma, the way of things, whatever. He says, in my heart of hearts, my wish is to live in the will. And it's that will that will take each of us sooner or later. Death is wonderful. Life that's lived near death is wonderful. There are two major things to know. One is that we are all loved. You are loved. That is constant and always. And two, death is not to be feared. Death is to be embraced or welcomed no matter what our age. I say this with joy and love and gratitude. One question I get is, do I have pain? The answer is yes, there is pain. And it's a strange thing because the pain itself is God's attention to this wayward soul. It is a beckoning, a calling home. So I thought I would share that with you. I found it quite inspiring. I'm happy to, if any of you can let me know whenever you want, and I could email that to you if you find it inspiring. But it really brings, now he's focusing a lot his own language. He's not really using Buddhist Dharma kind of language, but I think it's kind of a similar sentiment that he's pointing to. And really this idea of what is like opening up into I use the term mystery, to the mystery, but he calls it the will, and giving ourselves over to the way things are. And then through that kind of not only a peace, but a joy opened for him. And I feel that that is something, the potential of that may be something that's available. It's obviously available to the human experience because he's not the only person I know who's been near death with, uh, I can't think of a lot of people, but he's not the only one I can think of who's had similar kind of very almost transcendent type experiences. So we know that the possibility of meeting death, but also as we live our life in such a way, certainly is something that is possible for human beings to aspire for and to and actually attain. And then, whether the way he articulates it or I or someone else, we have to see for ourselves if that's kind of, we want to sort of undertake for ourselves, what might it be like to give ourselves over, step into that kind of way of being.